But I wanted to turn this conversation briefly towards something else. I wanted to turn it towards a new science that took hold of the world in the last 100 to 150 years, and that's the science of psychology. Before psychology, when a human being experienced difficulty emotionally, or they wanted to overcome their sadness and their grief, they would turn towards religion, or they would turn towards philosophy, because philosophy asked the question, what is pain? Why is there suffering in the world? What is this world all about? Right? Philosophers tried to answer this question. But then, philosophy, and even the spiritual study of psychology, spirituality, they basically got replaced slowly with this new thing we now call psychology. Allah said, "Sadurihim ayatina fil afaqi wa fi anfusihim." We'll show them our ayat inside themselves. And what is psychology doing? It's an exploration of the self. That's what it is. But it fundamentally removes God from the equation. Like I said, science without purpose can give you chemical weapons, can give you addictive drugs. Psychology with the removal of purpose, removal of Allah from the equation, what does it give you? Something has to be there that is the ultimate truth. What's even crazier is not just in the academic psychology, because of social media, something else happened before I get to my observations, and that is that in any subject, let's say physics, any subject, let's say mechanics, there are people that actually know mechanics, they actually know physics, and those are professors and PhDs and researchers, but they don't have a YouTube page. But there's an 18-year-old who's read a couple of books on it, and he's got 5 million followers on his YouTube page, and he's a much more popular content producer on physics, even though some of his physics is a joke. If academics actually looked at his work, they'd say, what is this? But he's got more followers because now you can present content in a more interesting way, even if it's not well researched, and it will sound convincing. So what happened with the world of psychology? There is PhDs and research and analysis and books, and then there are people who come up with their own content, and they'll come up and say, let me tell you what a narcissist is. Let me tell you what a toxic person is. Let me tell you how to draw boundaries. Let me tell you about trauma. And you've got these people that just became self-diagnosing. So what used to be arrogance can now be called self-care. What used to be bad akhlaq can now be called drawing a boundary. Somebody's telling you a harsh truth. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ, meaning you're telling somebody a truth that maybe they don't want to hear, but they need to hear it. You say, this is gaslighting. I'm being gaslit. So now what we do is we take psychology and we actually undermine some of the most important experiences in our lives, because the ultimate thing is I need to feel good. Anything that gets in the way of me feeling good is bad for my psychology. So the ultimate goal is to keep yourself happy. The direction that psychology is going in now, pop psychology, reminds me of the ayah of Surah Al-Jathiyah. أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ وَأَضَلَّهُ اللَّهُ عَلَى عِلْمٍ. Did you see someone who takes their feeling, their empty feeling, and they turn it into their God? Their God has become their feeling. And Allah allows this person to be misguided even though they have knowledge. Ala ilm. They can be a PhD, they can be a doctor, they can be a professional, but they are being led by their emotions. This kind of a person, Allah will put a ceiling on their hearing. You know what that means? That means it doesn't matter if you try to reason with them, you cannot reason with people who live by emotions. Many of you have experienced this. When people are living by their emotions, if you're trying to be logical, it's like talking to a wall. But I feel. The feeling is... That's the God. Who's going to guide them after Allah? They replaced Allah with their own feelings. That's why there's no more guidance for them. After they remove Allah from their hearts, what guidance can they have?